Aaron DeVos here with DeVos Tree Care. I am up here in Barrie area. Actually, technically right now I'm in Innisfil, but we're helping Barrie residents primarily after the crazy storm that went through. Crazy is that is an understatement. I've heard people say it looks like a bomb went off. Carnage. It's catastrophic. It's the apocalypse. Maybe that's too far, but it is really bad up here in Barrie. So hearts and prayers out to all the folks in Barrie. And it's not just Barrie. Orillia was hit. Actually, we've been asked to go out to Orillia and deal with some of the storm damage. So we might be doing that in a couple of days. They are still without power in Orillia. The storm started on Saturday. So some people may not have power a week in. I wouldn't be surprised if some people in more remote areas don't get power till even further out than that. Residents in Barrie started getting power back yesterday. Most residents in Barrie now have power, but it is absolutely wild. Almost every single tree you look at was affected. Certain trees, and this is one of the reasons I want to come up here. My crew's up here, but I'm predominantly looking at some of the trees and assessing. But most of the trees that were affected were deciduous trees, so not evergreens. They were the hardest hit, especially maple trees. One of the reasons I think it's perhaps a theory of mine, maple trees were hit the hardest is if you think about it, springtime, the sap is running on maple trees. That's how we get maple syrup. Sap is running quite a bit right now. I know because we were cutting into some maple trees and there's just gushing out water. And so they already were heavy on the branch tips. And now they became incredibly heavy from all the ice on the branch tips. So I wasn't here when the ice was around, but I had one resident tell me it's 3/4 inch all the way around. That I've never seen anything like that. Normally it's just like a thin sheath of ice all the way around, but 3/4 inch is absolutely crazy. If what he's saying is true, that's wild. The other reason I think deciduous trees got hit the most, particularly maples, is because unlike evergreens, they got really long branches and then they fork out multiple times. And the reason why that matters is that is more surface area for water to get on and then freeze. And the tree can't handle that sudden weight change. Trees can handle a ton of weight. They themselves are incredibly heavy, but it takes a while to build up that tolerance to it. So when there's a flash freeze and that ice sticks for a prolonged period of time, or even just like 30 minutes, suddenly the tree is not able to cope with it and it just snaps. And so maples got hit really bad and birches got hit really, really bad. Birches are really interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of work here just on birch trees because I'm getting into the weeds. I'm kind of creating this video in part for the tree guys, but also for people who are just interested. But one of the things about birch trees is they have very fibrous woody tissue. So what that means is that when it breaks off, it peels off. And so when it peels off, it might not actually break off from the tree. So what you can have with birch trees, and this is like left, right, and center, you have birches, the tops of the birches peeling off in multiple sections. The tips are hitting the ground, but it's still being held up in the air. I drove past a guy. He was taking his groceries out of his car to bring into his house, and he had about 10 birch trees around. And because these guys have been living with this for so long, it was just like normal to him. It was just like grabbing his groceries, bringing it in the house. Meanwhile, it was total carnage everywhere around him. Because tree guys like us were up here trying to help people with it, but every single homeowner was affected. First of all, because they lost their power. Secondly, it's quite possible that many branches landed on their lot. I'll try and show some other videos, but when you drive down every single street in Barrie, I bet you Orillia's even worse. There's branches just stacked along the side of the road. Barrie is doing their best to get to it all. They want people to cut things up small and only certain inch diameter, and they'll come clean it up. After that, if I'm not mistaken, someone can correct me on this, it is up to the residents to have to deal with all the aftermath. So this can be quite pricey. There are roofs that have just had branches go all the way through, pierce through multiple sections, where I look at a roof and it's just completely tarped off, or you see parts of a branch just sticking right up in the air. Insurance companies, I've reached out to some restoration companies who work with insurance companies, and they're still assessing what's going on. They have no idea what to do yet. I'm hoping insurance companies will step up and cover people for as much as people need coverage for. The tricky thing is, I've dealt with insurance in the past. It's tricky. Each insurance company can be different. So it's worth talking about this. So some insurance companies will just take the branches off of the roof, and then the homeowner has to pay the expense of cleaning it up. Or they'll take the branches off the car, or take the branches off of the garage. Hopefully, you as a homeowner can figure out a way that the tree company can kind of wrap in the chipping with the insurance claim somehow, even though the insurance company might not do it. Hopefully insurance companies don't want to sue me for that, but I'm just trying to think about the residents first. The other thing that's come up a lot, and a lot of people are understandably pissed about it, but I don't make the rules, this is the rules. If a neighbor has a tree and a branch breaks and it lands on your property and damages your house, your car, your house, your car, your shed, whatever, it actually is your responsibility, believe it or not, to clean it up. And if it has to be an insurance claim, it goes through your insurance. 99% of the time. There are cases where if there's negligence on the part, I don't want to get into those other cases, but 99% of the time, I know you might want to think that your situation is special, but generally speaking, 99% of the time, it'll go on your insurance, and yes, you have to pay the deductible. So my recommendation, this is my recommendation even before seeing all this storm stuff, just in the past, is to be amicable with your neighbor, and hopefully your neighbor can reciprocate it. Figure out a way to work together. I know that's not always the case, but try that first before going at war with your neighbor, because some people do want to create war with your neighbor, and there might be a situation where it does become a little bit of a fight with your neighbor, but it's been a long day for me. I'm trying to think about this. What do they call it? You can track more bees you can get more bees with honey than vinegar. It's been a very long day for me. So I would try that approach first. I had a couple other points I wanted to make. The other thing is, sociologically, this is quite fascinating to be up here, because people have been without electricity for a long time, which means they can't charge their phones, which means they don't have Wi-Fi. And so in some cases, people have not even been able to even cell services down in some areas. So people have not been able to connect with their family. People are realizing how attached they are to their phones. People are realizing how they kind of wish they had a generator. A lot of people are just leaving their houses and going to hotels or going to stay with family or friends further south, because it's kind of unbearable. I know someone in Orillia, family friends of ours, distinguished people, retired dentist. They couldn't handle it anymore. It got to the point where they were defecating in bags. I think they said, anyways, I was trying to figure out how to do it, but another story for another day. But anyways, they just couldn't handle it anymore. They just up and left, and they're staying with family in Hamilton. I didn't even bother trying to get a hotel in Barrie because they're all booked. A friend of mine told me they're all booked, don't even bother. So that's what we ended up finding, a cottage in Innisfil close by. So it's just been really interesting how people are connected so much to their devices, and now people don't have those devices, and they're trying to reach out to loved ones, or they're trying to do the normal things they might do for entertainment with their phones, and they can't do it. It's kind of been a win for us. We've met a lot of people. A lot of people are outside getting to know their neighbors. So hopefully people can see there's a little bit of a sunny side to all this. Everyone's getting to know their neighbors quite well. But it's been tough for a lot of people. But everyone's kind of banded together. Always neighbors are crossing the road to talk to other neighbors, sharing equipment, maybe they got a chainsaw. The problem with it now, though, is safety concerns. Everyone has seen YouTube videos of tree failures, people on ladders. That kind of stuff is happening now. And I get it. I get it. If a branch is rested on your house, you do really want to clear it off. I just recommend you seek some sort of advice before you do it, because us tree guys will try and come and help you. But we can't get to everyone. So if you're going to do something like that, please think it through with someone else's help. And just try to be as safe as possible. Tomorrow is going to be a tough one. 40 millimeters of rain last I saw, temperatures 1 or 2 degrees. I really want to send our whole crew out tomorrow. We got 2 crews up here in Barrie. I want to send our whole crew out tomorrow. 40 millimeters of rain in 2 degrees. That's practically freezing rain. There's no way to stay dry. That water seeps into you and you stay cold and you cannot warm up. It's really, really hard. So we're going to figure that one out tomorrow. We're going to go out, but it's going to be a tough one. It's just like this whole area just getting hit and then hit and then hit again. Just pray that the end is in sight soon, so around later. Literally, there's cleanup work here for the next, I don't think I'm exaggerating, 2 years. The majority of it will be done in the next month, but you'll see the trees, you'll see them struggling. Fascinating. Some trees, like an oak tree, for example, I saw tons of oak trees. Maybe I'll show you a video of over 100 years old, multiple, and all these other trees were ravaged. But these oak trees were doing just fine, over 100 years old. So that's why I say those things about maple and birches. They just don't like, they can't handle, they grow generally a little bit too fast. They're not quite as strong. They have a lot of flexibility, but at some point that flexibility breaks, and that's what happened with them. Not so with a lot of oak trees. The other thing about, I'm jumping around a little bit. The other thing about evergreen trees is they're very upright, right? So when there's a load put down on those branches, it just goes down. All that weight gets transposed back down the trunk, and the trunk actually ends up bearing a lot of the weight. But when you got a long lever arm like the branches on some of these maples, and it's collecting all that ice, it doesn't have any support under it. So it starts bending. And we all know if you bend anything too far, eventually it's going to break. And that's what happens. So that's why those long lever arms on the maples and those birches eventually succumbed to it and they broke off. But fascinating what trees failed, what trees didn't fail. I got video of a sugar maple. It's got a big cavity right in the center of it. Very few broken branches on it. So there's like the DNA of that tree. It's just a hardier specimen. And then others just couldn't handle it. Or maybe it was just the location. It took maybe a little bit more wind. But in this case, it wasn't it wasn't the wind that was the impact. It was just the extra load. Going back to spruce trees for a second. Spruce trees are very common to uproot, especially blue spruce and white spruce. They literally fall right at the base. And I see it all the time on wet, windy days. I saw maybe 2 of the thousands of trees that failed or partially failed today. Tens of thousands of trees. I saw maybe 2 spruce trees that uprooted. So it's really interesting. I'm always cautioning people with spruce trees about uprooting. I don't want people to be fearful of their spruce tree, but it's just the reality of spruce trees. But next to no failure of spruce trees here. So there's probably a lot more I could say. I'm probably rambling. I didn't realize it's 15 minutes long, so my apologies. Kudos to anyone who made it through this whole 15 minutes. God bless and stay safe out there. Take care. Bye.